Hello, Mr. Henry Hazlitt.
Hello.
The Irish government is experiencing serious economic problems ever since the property bubble burst.
I am sorry to hear that.
Paul Krugman is a Nobel Prize-winning economist, and he says, what is key to the economic recovery is public works projects that create jobs. What do you think?
Everything we get, outside of the free gifts of nature, must in some way be paid for. All government expenditure must eventually be paid out of the proceeds of taxation. To put it off merely increases the problem.
Are you saying there should be no public spending?
A certain amount of public spending can be justified to perform essential government functions. Public works, to maintain streets, roads, bridges and tunnels, defense spending, local authority buildings, police and fire departments, are necessary.
So what is your point then?
I am here concerned with public works that are considered as a means of providing employment or of adding wealth that the community would not otherwise have created.
You cannot deny that. For example, building a bridge would provide jobs for construction workers.
This is only what is immediately seen. The implication is that these are jobs that would not otherwise have come into existence. It is true that a particular group of bridge workers may receive more employment than otherwise. But the bridge has to be paid for out of taxes. For every euro that is spent on the bridge, a euro will be taken away from taxpayers. If the bridge costs 1 million euros, the taxpayers will lose 1 million euros. They will have that much taken away from them, which they could otherwise have spent on goods and services they needed most.
Please explain further.
For every public job created by the bridge project, a private job has been destroyed somewhere else. We can see the men employed on the bridge. We can watch them at work. The employment argument of the government spending becomes vivid, and probably for most people convincing. But there are other things that we do not see, because, alas, they have never been permitted to come into existence. They are the jobs destroyed by the 1 million euros taken from the taxpayers. All that has happened, at best, is that there has been a diversion of jobs because of the project. More bridge builders, but fewer car mechanics, web developers, bakers, and glaziers.
Fair enough, but there is a second argument in favor of government spending. In this example, we now have a new bridge. If we listened to you, there would be no new bridge. The country would be poorer without the new bridge.
But again, the bridge is only what is seen. We do not see the other things the money could have been spent on. The cars that broke down due to lack of servicing, the cakes that were not baked, the windows that were not fitted. What has happened is merely that one thing has been created instead of others.
What about smaller government projects that create many jobs and do not cost as much as the bridge?
There are hundreds of other state projects where the main objective is to create jobs and to put people to work. The usefulness of these projects inevitably becomes a secondary consideration, resulting in even more wasteful and costlier work. Under such circumstances, it is highly unlikely that the projects thought up by the bureaucrats will provide as much benefit per euro spent as the taxpayers could have got themselves if they had been individually permitted to spend their own money in their own way.
Okay, I accept your point with regard to capital spending by the state. How about spending money to support Irish companies? For example, agriculture and the renewable energy industry must be supported by tariffs, price controls, or by subsidies. If they are not supported, even more workers will be out of a job.
I'm afraid this is nothing more than a transfer of wealth, or income, from productive industries to unproductive industries. The taxpayers lose precisely as much as the people in the subsidized industry gain.
But perhaps it is necessary to keep the subsidized industries going. So maybe, on balance, it is worthwhile.
But the subsidies are merely a transfer of wealth. The result is also that capital and labor are driven out of industries in which they are more efficiently employed, to be diverted to an industry in which they are less efficiently employed. Therefore less wealth is created overall. The average standard of living is lowered, compared with what it would have been.
But if we want our economy to grow again, the state needs to help businesses to expand.
In order that new industries may grow, It is sometimes necessary that some old industries should be allowed to shrink or die. This is what Joe Schumpeter called creative destruction. When old industries die, it releases the necessary capital and labor for the new industries. For example, if we had tried to keep the horse and cart trade artificially alive, we would have slowed down the growth of the automobile industry. Do you think we would be wealthier if taxpayer money was used to subsidize such an inefficient mode of transport?
I guess not. So, what should the government do?
The government's role is to create and enforce a framework of law that prohibits force and fraud. Government's main economic function is to encourage and preserve a free market. The government can provide essential policemen, firemen, street cleaners, healthcare staff, judges, legislators, and others who perform productive services that are as important as those of anyone in private industry. These public sector staff make it possible for private industry to function in an atmosphere of law, order, freedom and peace. But the government must refrain from specific economic interventions which punish successful businesses to support unsuccessful ones.
Wow. I guess I should stop listening to Paul Krugman. Where can I learn more about your ideas?
You can read my book, Economics in One Lesson. It was written in 1946, but it is still relevant today. Or visit the website Liberals.ie for regular articles and discussion of classical liberal ideas.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hazlitt.
No problem. Goodbye.